The house doesn't catch fire so much as it decides to speak, and every word is heat. Smoke presses its hands over my ears, turns the hallway into a throat, shoves orange through door seams. I crawl because school taught me that the air down low is kinder. It isn't, but it is survivable. My lungs bargain, my eyes flood. An hour earlier, the night carried only rain and refrigerator hum. My stepfather came home late, keys thrown in the bowl like a warning. His sons, my half-brothers, wrestled through the living room, socks skidding. I set plates, stirred tea, practiced the quiet economy of being useful. Then a socket coughed blue at the baseboard, and the curtain decided to glow. I grabbed a pan of water. The fire swallowed it like a joke. "Get the boys." My stepfather shouted. The words had a handle he did not offer me. He vanished into smoke with a boy under each arm, while heat took the walls apart. He did not say my name. He did not count heads. The smoke became a door he knew, and I did not. I crawl. The hallway is hot enough to think about skin. The front door is 3 rooms away, a red coin of a knob pulsing through haze. A beam surrenders with a wet groan. Embers drop like cruel confetti. The house writes a single command on every surface go. My elbows throb. My knees keep score. The knob burns through my shirt. I twist, throw my shoulder, and the door yields by inches. Night slaps me with wet air. I tumble into grass that feels like mercy. On the curb, my stepfather stands with both boys hooked to his chest, a formation of rescue that does not include me. He flinches when he sees me, then irons his face flat. He studies the house as if he can invoice it for loss. Sirens arrive with the certainty of a script. Hoses unroll. Water leaps and hisses. Steam pulls new ghosts from the windows. A neighbor drops a blanket over my shoulders, wool that smells faintly of other emergencies. "Are you hurt?" she asks. "I'm out," I answer, and the words fit like a key. I didn't know I owned Dot. My stepfather adjusts the boys and offers me a sentence as dull as a hammer. "You should have been faster." For a second I feel the old reflex, the one where I explain, apologize, make myself smaller than the facts. Fire is honest. It burned that reflex down to char. I turn away and let the night rinse my eyes. My mother arrives in scrubs, rain in her hair, fear bright on her mouth. She touches my face with both hands, and the world stops fleeing. "My girl," she whispers, rib-crushing me into certainty. I say, "I saved me," and watch her eyes change shape around pride and relief. We end up under the neighbor's porch while the chief explains. Suspected electrical. Unsafe to enter. Temporary motel. Numbers to call. Behind him, the house exhales steam like a tired animal. My stepfather signs forms, muttering about a heater no one left on. The heater was in the boys' room, I say. He doesn't look at me. Old geometry redraws itself. 3 cling to one belt. One stands alone with a blanket. The motel smells of lemon and old air conditioning. We take 2 rooms, thin wall between. I shower until the water runs clear. The burn on my forearm is small and honest. When I sit on the bed, the mirror fogs and clears like a chest learning how to breathe. My phone buzzes with neighbors, classmates, and a teacher's careful punctuation. At the top sits a name that steadies me. Ethan, the boy from 2 streets over, who once lifted ripped groceries out of my arms. "Are you okay?" He writes, "I saw the trucks. Do you need anything?" Words feel heavy all at once. I type, erase, type again. "I'm okay." "Thank you. Come downstairs." He sends, vending machines. I can stay 10 minutes. The clock blinks rude numbers. My mother sleeps with one hand open, as if blessing the dark. I pull on jeans and a sweatshirt and step into the hallway. The lobby glows like a small aquarium. Ethan stands in the fluorescent light, rain darkening the edges of his hair. He doesn't say I'm sorry. He says, hey, the syllable plain and warm. He buys water and hands me a bottle so cold it stings. I didn't want to text paragraphs, he says. Felt like you might need something simpler than words. The water tastes almost sweet after smoke. We let the machines hum. I thought I was going to die, I say, hearing truth sound different outside my head. And then I didn't. Now, everything afterward feels like stewardship. He nods, not pretending to fix it. You made one choice, he says. Maybe the rest of your life agrees with it. We talk about nothing for a while, the weird horse painting by the elevator, coffee that makes courage jitter, rain that insists without raising its voice. You're shaking, he says softly, looking at my sleeve instead of my eyes. I think part of me is still in that hallway, I answer. My legs got out first. He breathes out. Then we wait. Until the rest catches up. His phone buzzes. He grimaces. I promised my sister I'd be back by 2. She worries like it's her job. I don't want him to go, and the wanting embarrasses me. But he reads it, can choose his gentleness. I'll text tomorrow. If you want. I'd like that, I say. And the truth of it stands up straight between us. He gives a small, failing wave and leaves. The automatic doors sigh closed, and the night presses its cool hand to my face. I hold the water against the small burn and watch a stray cat arrange itself under a car like a rumor. For a second, I see the hallway again, the red coin of the doorknob, the sentence on the walls, the decision. Then another picture overlays it. A boy who says hey without pity. A table where I might not have to be small. Back in the room, my mother stirs and murmurs my name as if testing it for damage. I slide under the covers and let the sheets welcome me with their ordinary kindness. Beyond the thin wall, my stepfather's voice rumbles. The boys whimper in sleep. The siren becomes memory, a long note folding away. I breathe in, out, try on the shape of morning. Sleep arrives like a cautious visitor. Inside it, I stand again at that door, hand wrapped in cotton, shoulder set. I push and feel the world give. When I open my eyes, the motel clock says almost 3. The sky behind the curtains is rinsing itself of night. I am alive. I do not know what remains of home, or what that word means when a house forgets your name, but I know 2 truths the fire taught me. First, I can be my own rescue. Second, rescue does not always mean alone. The second truth is bright and shaped like a number. I want to dial again. I close my eyes and let the slow blue of almost morning settle. Somewhere down the hall, an ice machine labors. Outside, rain invents patience on the hood of a car. My muscles unlearn the hallway inch by inch. Before sleep completes itself, a thought sits beside me. Tomorrow, I will still smell like smoke, and there will be new rooms to enter with that smell. I will see who notices. Outside, dawn waits like a shy guest at the threshold today. And if he texts before the smell fades, I will answer. The smell of smoke lingers long after the ashes cool. It clings to my hair, my clothes, the corners of my mind where memory refuses to loosen its grip. Days pass, yet every time I close my eyes, I'm back in that hallway crawling, gasping, clawing my way toward air that did not want me. But what hurts most isn't the fire. It's the way he looked at me afterward. My stepfather, arms wrapped around his sons like they were made of glass. His silence toward me heavier than the smoke I crawled through. No bandage can protect me from that. The motel feels temporary, like living inside someone else's breath. The lemon cleaner scent scratches my throat, and the buzzing air conditioner keeps time like an impatient clock. My mother tries, in the way she knows how, packing meals in styrofoam containers, tucking my hair behind my ear, brushing her thumb across the burn on my arm. She doesn't speak of the fire, but her eyes say everything. I am grateful you lived, but I don't know how to fight for you against him. At night, I hear them in the next room. My stepfather's low voice, my brother's laughter spilling out like unbroken glass. I press my pillow over my ears, but sound finds the cracks anyway. And it cuts. School resumes faster than I'm ready for. The halls smell of wax and teenage perfume, lockers slamming like thunderclaps. People look at me differently, now like survival is a story they want me to retell for their entertainment. You're so brave, someone says by the drinking fountain. Brave feels like a costume I didn't put on. I was just left behind. At lunch, I sit at the far end of the cafeteria. The chatter blurs into static until the familiar voice pierces through. Can I sit? Ethan stands with a tray in his hands, eyes soft, waiting for permission. I don't know how to grant. Sure, I murmur, moving my backpack aside. He sits, not filling the silence with nervous words. Just presence. That's what startles me most, his ability to let silence breathe instead of smothering it. You've got that. Look, he says finally, eyes catching mine. What look? The one where you're here, but you're not. Like your body's in this cafeteria, but your head's still somewhere else. Smoke, maybe, I blink. The world stutters. He sees it. He sees me. Maybe I am, I whisper. He nods, stabbing at the pasta on his tray. Makes sense. Smoke doesn't disappear overnight. It lingers. The cafeteria noise fades as I watch him. He's not prying, not pitying, just acknowledging. It feels like the first time since the fire that I'm not invisible. That night, back at the motel, I stare at the cracked ceiling. My stepfather had barely looked at me when he passed in the hallway, as if my survival were an inconvenience. His hand rested proudly on his son's shoulder, and I became heir again, unseen, unchosen. I think of Ethan's words. Smoke lingers. Maybe scars do too. The next day, I come home from school to find my stepfather on the phone with the insurance company. His voice sharp, his eyes cutting toward me like I've interrupted something sacred. You cost us enough already, he mutters when he hangs up, his tone just low enough to feel like a dagger. I want to scream, to tell him it wasn't me who started the fire, that I was the one who saved myself because he didn't. But my voice catches like a burned match. Instead, I retreat into the small motel bathroom, turn the faucet on, and let the water drown out my sobs. My reflection stares back from the fogged mirror, eyes swollen, lips trembling. The burn on my forearm stings as if it knows the truth. Some wounds beg to be seen, others are buried where no one dares look. Later, my phone buzzes. Ethan, want to walk? Just down the block. Fresh air might help. I hesitate, my mother asleep in the other bed, her arm draped like a guardrail across her stomach. But the thought of staying in this room, suffocating under walls that hum with silence, feels worse. I slip out. The air outside is cool, crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain. Ethan waits near the street lamp, hands in his pockets, posture casual but eyes searching. You came, he says, smiling softly. I needed air, I answer. We walk without direction, the street lamps painting halos on the wet pavement. My chest loosens, step by step, as if the night is willing to share its calm. You ever feel like you're extra? I ask suddenly, words tumbling out before I can catch them. Extra? Like a guest in your own life. Like everyone else belongs, and you're just there, filling space no one asked for. He stops walking, turns to me. Yeah, I've felt that. I blink. You? He shrugs, a small shadow of a smile. My dad left when I was 5. Sometimes my mom looks at me, and I see it, the weight of raising me alone. I love her, but part of me feels like A scar she can't explain to anyone. The honesty slices me open in a gentle way. I swallow. I think I'm a scar in my own family. You're not a scar, he says firmly, stepping closer. Scars mean healing. They mean you survived something that could have broken you. That's strength, not shame. His words linger, warm against the cold night. For a moment, I imagined leaning into him, letting my forehead rest against his shoulder, letting his warmth patch the holes my stepfather left. But I don't, not yet. We walk back, silence folding between us again, but this time, it's not heavy. It's comforting, like a blanket tucked under my chin dot at the motel door. I pause. Thank you, I whisper. For what? For seeing me. He looks at me for a long moment, the kind of gaze that feels like light finding the cracks in a dark room. Anytime, he says. You deserve to be seen. I carry those words with me as I slip back into the room. My mother shifts in her sleep, murmuring, and I climb into bed, clutching the blanket to my chest. The scars no one sees are still there. But tonight, for the first time, someone touched them without fear. The motel days blur into soft-edged squares of time. Lemon cleaner, thin towels, cereal cups that crackle when you peel the lid. In the evenings, I wander the sidewalk like a slow comet, trailing a faint tail of smoke no one else can see. The boys turn the TV loud. My stepfather argues with paperwork. My mother counts breaths between her own sentences. I try to be furniture useful, quiet, hard to bruise. Ethan finds me under the half-broken neon of the vending alcove. You again, he says, and it sounds like relief. His hoodie is the color of a bruise turning kind. He taps the machine until a stubborn bag of chips gives up. Then he looks at me like I am not debris, but a map. You texted, I say, holding up my phone as proof that hope can be small and glowing. I wanted to check, he answers. Also, these machines always jam on the exact snack you need. What snack do I need? I ask. Whichever one stays in your pocket while the world asks you to perform, he says, and slides the chips into my hands. Walk? We step into night that smells like rain on warm concrete. Our reflections smear in puddles, broken and then whole again with every step. He keeps an easy distance far enough that my shoulders don't brace, close enough that the dark feels curated instead of empty. How is it inside? He asks, like sharing lungs with people who never learned to breathe with you, I say. Like I'm visiting a city where I don't speak the language. He nods as if I've described weather. I get it. What about you? I ask. What does your house sound like? Tonight? My sister murdering scales and my mom making peace between sleep and bills. He kicks a bottle cap. Sometimes I want to fix everything with one brilliant gesture. Instead, I wash dishes and carry heavy bags. That is a gesture, I say. He glances at me. So is showing up. We reach the closed playground. The slide gleams like a tilted moon, and the swings creak their ancient lullaby. Ethan hops the fence, then offers his hand like a bridge. I hesitate. Don't ask, don't need, don't reach, but take it anyway. Warmth travels from skin to conviction. That we sit on the swings, shoelaces sweeping sand. Tell me something true, he says. My stepfather didn't say my name during the fire, I answer. The words leave me naked. The night doesn't flinch. He absorbs the sentence. Another truth? I keep replaying the hallway like a wrong note, trying to hear a version where he turns. He twists his chain until it squeals. I replay the day my dad left. I'm 5 and holding a plastic dinosaur like it's an argument. It still loses. We watch our shoes make slow caves in the sand. A train stitches silver across the sky. Here's another true thing, I say. When you texted, I felt the air change. Like a window opened in a room I didn't know was sealed. He laughs, shy and bright. Same. A door marked push where everyone read pull. We talk in pieces, torn paperbacks, peaches over the sink, the trick of photographing sky. He runs at dusk. I keep secret lists that stop the dark from naming me. What's on today's list? He asks, water, sunlight on a window, a dog with terrible manners, a boy who doesn't make silence feel like a test. He doesn't answer. He looks at me until my ribs feel like a room with all the lights on. Then he stands and offers his hand again. Come on. There's a view. We climb the hill behind the field. The city spreads in neon. He folds his hoodie into a pillow on the slanted bleacher. We sit with knees almost touching. Sometimes I think hope is illegal in that room. I confess. If I let it bloom, they'll find me. Then we'll plant it outside the jurisdiction, he says. We'll file for a permit with the sky. Wind brushes hair into my mouth. He rescues it, fingers brief against my cheek. Then gone as if respecting a border he won't cross without invitation. The spot burns friendly. Why me? I ask. Because you don't pretend, he says. Because you survived and didn't turn stone. Because when you talk about hurt, I see the architecture of your kindness. Kindness feels dumb next to practical things like rent and exits. Kindness keeps people from jumping from the exits, he says. Also unselfish. I like how it feels around you. Do you hate him? He asks, my stepfather? I taste the word. Hate is a big coat. I'm too hot inside it. I think I'm tired. That's allowed. We return to the swings. Night deepens. When I shiver, he just says, I'm running low on Brave. Share some? And shifts closer until our sleeves touch. He tells a dumb joke about a mailbox with imposter syndrome. I laugh too hard, and he grins like he's been promoted. There it is, he says softly. Your real laugh, my laugh? I tease. I have fakes. We all do, he says. It's how we survive cafeterias. I should go back, I say. My mother will wake and take attendance. I'll walk you, he says. We move through sleeping streets. A cat argues with the universe under a hedge. Sprinklers negotiate with grass. The motel looms, a stack of lit rectangles that look like decisions. No one wanted to make Dot at the entrance. We pause under the tired light. He rocks on his heels, measuring something invisible. I don't want to mess this up, he says. This new version of my day where you exist, he answers. So simply I can't breathe. You're not messing it up, I manage. Can I see you tomorrow? Vending court, same time? Yes, we don't hug. We let the possibility hover like lantern light. I go inside feeling rich in a currency that has never fit my stepfather's wallet. Upstairs the room is dim. My mother stirs as the door clicks. You okay? She whispers. I am, I answer truthfully. She reaches out and I take her hand. We don't speak of men who fail us. We practice a small, stubborn ritual called staying Dot in the bathroom. I wash my face. Watch water, remember how to be gentle on skin, it once scalded. When I return, the boys snore and kick at imagined monsters. I am no one's monster tonight. I am also no one's daughter in the way that we're dreams. But I am something else, seen. I climb into bed and pull the sheet to my chin. My phone glows. Ethan. Good night. Hallways Conqueror.me. Good night, machine whisperer. Sleep approaches on quieter feet. It brings a scene I haven't allowed. A door I open without bracing. The room smells like citrus and books. Someone calls my name and means it. The name fits all the way to the bone. Morning arrives with alarms and the clatter of obligations. In the parking lot, my stepfather barks into his phone insurance, storage, estimates recited like commandments. He walks past me without a glance. The old ache tries to add itself to my day. I take a breath and decline its offer. At school, The chatter folds around me. In English, we read a poem about doors learning to open. After class, Ethan waits in the doorway, leaning like the building owes him rent. "Your seat," he says, tapping the space next to him in our invented court. Shall we hear the case of hope versus every reason not to? How do you plead? I ask. Guilty of attempting. He replies, "We eat on the back steps where no one grades our hunger." He tells me he keeps spare quarters for strangers' meters. I tell him how rain on our ruined porch roof could steady a heartbeat. We don't touch, yet a thread runs between us, bright and humming whenever we breathe at the same time. That night, when I head for the vending machines, my mother squeezes my fingers. "Be careful," she murmurs. It isn't a warning against boys. It's a benediction for hope. Tomorrow, I tell myself, we will try to speak without speaking, letting glances and small kindnesses build a proper grammar the house never taught us. The world has two lives now. The one inside the motel and the one outside with Ethan. Inside is stale cereal, the drone of the news, my stepfather's clipped orders, my mother's careful attempts at peace. The walls hung with a language I don't speak, a grammar of neglect and half-formed silences. But outside, when Ethan texts a simple "you around?" everything shifts. The night becomes possibility, the air lighter. With him, the silence doesn't wound. It breathes. We walk the back streets that smell of damp asphalt and lilac hedges, letting the pools of street lamp light guide us. Sometimes we talk about nothing, the weird names of clouds, which vending machine snacks rank as royalty, the odd way our town feels smaller after midnight. Other times, we don't talk at all. Our footsteps, side by side, are their own language. One night, he hands me a book with a dog-eared cover. The Little Prince. "My sister said it's childish," he says, scratching the back of his neck. "But when I read it, I thought of you. The way you look at things, like they're more than what they appear." I press the book to my chest, too moved for clever words. "Thank you," I manage, though what I want to say is, no one has ever given me something that carried this much thought. He shrugs, embarrassed, but his eyes linger on mine like they're writing a story only I can read. I spend nights devouring the pages by the yellow glow of the motel lamp, underlining sentences that feel like fingerprints on my heart. When I see him next, I return the book with my own notes scribbled lightly in the margins. "You wrote in it," he says, mock scandal in his tone. "I gave it a heartbeat," I reply. He flips through, reading my thoughts aloud. "It is only with the heart that one can see, rightly? And you wrote, the heart can also lie." "I didn't mean no," he interrupts gently, eyes intent. "It's honest. That's why I wanted you to have it. You don't pretend." The night folds around us, the street lamp above flickering once before steadying. I can feel it then, the unspoken thread between us, how every word is just an excuse to be near. Another evening. We end up on the swings again. I pump my legs, the chains squealing, air slicing across my face. For a moment, I feel like I'm flying, free of smoke, free of rooms where I don't belong. Ethan watches me, smiling. "You look alive up there," because for a second I forget. Forget what? That I was left behind. The words fall like pebbles into a deep well. He doesn't rush to cover them with sympathy. Instead, he slows the swing beside mine and whispers, "Then maybe I'll make sure you're never left behind again." The swing jerks in my hands, my breath catches. He said it casually, almost as a joke, but the sincerity in his eyes ruins me. I can't answer, so I just let the swing sway slower until our shoulders nearly touch. One Saturday, I meet him at the used bookstore downtown. A bell jingles, dust dancing in the slanting light. He's already there, holding 2 paperbacks like treasures. "Pick one," he says. "I can't choose." "Then take both. One can be for the nights you're strong, the other for when you're not." I laugh softly, shaking my head. You make it sound like books are medicine. Maybe they are. His gaze doesn't waver. Maybe so are you. The words land in my chest, heavy and trembling. I duck into an aisle, pretending to study spines, because if I look at him another second, my heart will confess everything my mouth isn't ready to. That evening, we sit under the cracked bleachers by the field, the world hidden from us. I read a passage aloud, my voice breaking on certain words. He listens like it's music. At one point, my hand brushes his when I turn the page. The jolt that runs through me is both terrifying and exhilarating, like stepping onto ice that might hold or crack. We don't move our hands apart immediately. For a few breaths, our fingers rest in the same space, heat pooling in the tiny gap between them. He looks at me, not with hunger, not with pity, but with something patient and sure. The kind of look that tells you a new language is being born. Sometimes I feel guilty, I whisper, pulling my hand back at last. Guilty? For wanting this. Wanting you, the words choke. It feels like betrayal. My family doesn't even. I break off, unable to finish. Wanting to be loved isn't betrayal, he says firmly. His voice is low, like he's speaking a vow. It's survival. My throat tightens. But if survival means choosing something they wouldn't give me, then maybe you deserve to choose anyway, he interrupts, eyes glinting in the dark. I exhale shakily, heart pounding like wings against a cage. His words feel like a key pressing against a lock I've carried for too long. The nights continue, each one carving out space in my heart. His kindness becomes the language my silence never learned. We share sodas under streetlights, trade music through cracked earbuds, sketch our dreams in notebooks. He wants to travel. I want to write a story where the girl isn't left behind. Sometimes our laughter bursts too loud, echoing across empty streets, and we both freeze like thieves of joy. Then, almost in unison, we smile, realizing laughter can't be stolen when it's freely given. But in the motel, the guilt lingers. My stepfather's glances cut sharper each day, like he knows I'm carrying something forbidden. My brothers tease and fight. My mother looks tired. I watch them from a distance, wondering if craving love elsewhere makes me less theirs, or if I was never theirs to begin with. That night, lying awake, I replay Ethan's words. Wanting to be loved isn't betrayal. It's survival. The truth of it terrifies me. Because if survival means stepping toward him, then I already have. And I don't know how to step back. The rain arrived like a confession the sky couldn't hold. It softened street edges and polished the night until every light wore a halo. I waited under the awning behind the bleachers, hoodie darkening, heart drumming a code I didn't yet know how to read. Ethan had texted 2 words, "Come outside." He was there when I rounded the corner, soaked and stubborn, hair pasted to his forehead. Water slid off his jaw. His hands shook, but not from cold. He smiled when he saw me, and it felt like someone set a lantern inside my ribs. "I didn't want to do this on a screen," he said. "I need the sky to overhear." "Do what?" I asked, though the answer vibrated between us like wire. He swallowed, and the rain answered for him, louder, pooling near our shoes. "I keep trying to be sensible about you," he said. "But every version of sensible edits you out, and I don't want a single edit. Time folded into seconds I could live inside." I stepped closer. He looked terrified, which made him beautiful. Bravery is just fear that learned the choreography. "Say it," I whispered. He laughed once, helpless. "I'm wrecked for you," he said. "It's you when I wake, and you when the day empties. You in the silence, and you in the noise. I'm not asking you to fix my life. I'm asking to be in the same sentence." Rain applauded on the tin awning. Something in me loosened like a knot teased free. I thought of the hallway and the door, and the part of me that still waited for someone to turn back and say my name. Ethan had been turning back since the first night at the machines. "You don't have to answer," he said, words tumbling. "I just needed air with your name in it. I needed to tell the weather so it would stop mistaking me for someone casual." I didn't kiss him then. I reached for his hands and threaded our fingers, palms slick with rain and pulse. "I'm scared," I said. "Me too," he admitted. "But not of us." "Of what, then?" "Of anything that tries to punish you for choosing light," he said. "Of not being enough against your storms." I could have told him he already was. Instead, I asked, "Why tonight?" "Because hope's been whispering so loud I can't think," he said. "Because I watched you learn to breathe, and I want to remember your pace. Because I want to walk you home, whatever that means, without permissions that forget your name." The words found the exact door in me. It opened. "Then learn my pace," I said. "And I'll learn yours." He inhaled like he'd been underwater and finally found the surface. Our foreheads touched. Rain slipped between us like 1,000 small blessings. His thumb traced the faint scar near my wrist. "You scare me," he whispered. "You make me want a future I can't schedule." "Schedule it anyway," I said. "Let it be late. I'll still be there." A gust pushed the rain sideways and drove us from the awning into the open. We didn't run for shelter. We stepped into it like the storm had been commissioned for this hour. The first kiss felt inevitable and impossible at once. He looked at me with a question that wasn't a question, and I answered with the tilt of my mouth. The world narrowed to water and warmth, and the soft, astonished sound he made when our lips met. His hands framed my face as if composing a photograph he didn't want to blur. I had imagined kissing like fire. Tonight it was rain-steady, cleansing, a map of relief. When we broke, everything was louder and gentler. Stadium lights hummed. Cars hissed through puddles. We laughed, breath mingling. "I don't have much," he said, "but I have this. I have a way of listening in quiet places and jokes on demand. A sister who makes too much pasta and running shoes that know where the morning is. I want to give all of it to you. You already gave me air," I said. "Everything else is decoration." He shook his head. "No, it's scaffolding. I want you to climb as high as you dream and know there's something steady under your hands." The word steady made my knees weak. We walked, drenched, through streets that glowed as if polished. He kept touching my knuckles like checking a pulse. I kept memorizing his profile so that later, when doubt came like weather, I'd have something to hold out at the coffee shop that never closed. We tracked water across the floor and ordered hot chocolate. The barista gave us napkins with a grin. We sat in the corner booth, shoes squeaking, knees pressing under the table like a secret handshake. "I should tell you the ugliest part," I said, folding the cup. "Sometimes I feel guilty just for being happy near you. Because of him." I nodded. "Because the house taught me love is expensive, and I can't afford it. Because I feel like I'm stealing when I feel chosen." He leaned in, eyes steady. "You're not shoplifting joy. You're cashing a check you were always owed." The sentence cracked something open some hoarded winter. Tears found my lashes, and we let them. He didn't wipe them. He turned his palm up on the table. I placed mine there. "If this gets hard," I said, "promise we won't pretend it isn't." "No pretending," he said. "Only weather reports." "And routes. Tell me one. Knock knock. Who's there?" "Olive." "Olive who?" "Olive you," he said, and I groaned and then laughed. The barista clapped Dot when the storm softened to a gray hush. He walked me back to the motel. The parking lot smelled like wet dust and beginning. We paused beneath the eave where the security light buzzed. "I want to say it right," he murmured. "I love you." Not because the night is pretty or the rain cinematic. I love you when the machine eats my quarters and when the day is just errands. I love you in the blank hours. I love you in past tense, future tense, and especially the present. The world stacked into focus. I love you, I said, hearing my voice ring true against something that wouldn't echo back as empty. We kissed again, slower, memorizing. Above us, a curtain shifted movement in a motel window. The light inside our room clicked on, then off. A prickle crossed my skin, the reflex of being watched. Did you see that? I whispered. He followed my gaze, shoulders tensing. Probably nothing, but his hand tightened around mine. We stood while the rain ticked down to a drizzle. I thought of what waited behind that door. My mother's carefulness, my brother's soft snore, the man whose indifference had become architecture. Happiness felt like a contraband flare bright enough to summon, bright enough to give us away. Whatever happens, Ethan said, don't let them convince you you're safer in the dark. I won't, I said. He kissed my forehead, then took a step backward, then another. Text me when you're inside. I nodded. We let the distance bloom until the night swallowed him, but the line connecting us held like wire. I climbed the stairs on quiet feet. At our door, I listened. Only the air conditioner hummed. Inside, the room was dim. My mother slept on her side. I changed into dry clothes. In the mirror, my mouth was a shape I knew from other people's love stories. My phone buzzed. Home? Home-ish, I sent, breathing. Good, he replied. Rest. Tomorrow we plan the small forever things. I lay on the bed, palms open. The storm had moved on, but the room carried new weather. I closed my eyes and let it rain inside me, warm and patient. Then the door handle clicked. Metal against metal. I froze. The bolt was thrown back from the outside. My stepfather had a key from the front desk. The door opened a slice, then wider. He stepped in with the particular quiet that belongs to men who believe the room owes them silence. His gaze moved over my face, then the wet shoes by the bathroom, then the window where the security light painted a square on the floor. Out late, he said mildly, which was always worse than shouting. I sat up, sheet caught in my fists. I went for air. He closed the door, the lock catching with a soft, merciless sound. We'll talk in the morning, he said. He looked again at the shoes, then at my phone, glowing with a new message I hadn't read. His mouth thinned. He turned away, but the room felt smaller, starved of what the rain had given. On my screen, Ethan had sent 3 words. I'm not going anywhere. I pressed the phone to my chest, as if it could soften the morning already forming its fist. The morning after the storm began with a quiet that pretends to be harmless. My mother brewed motel coffee. My stepfather sat at the tiny table, arms crossed, watching me like a delayed bill. You are out late, he sighed. I went for a walk. With who? Ethan, his mouth thinned. You don't have time for boys. I have time for breathing, I said. He stood. The chair legs scraped. End it. My mother's eyes flicked between us. Please, she said. The boys. You want to play adult. You follow rules, he said. You think a roof appears from romance? We're just friends. I saw you last night, he said. Window. My face burned. I held the memory of rain like a fragile flame. Ethan is kind, I said. He's a distraction. From what? From being invisible? My mother touched my wrist. Please, she whispered. He stepped closer. You live under my watch. You eat what I pay for. You don't parade yourself. Parade? The word scraped. I walked outside. I breathed like a person. If you were mine, you wouldn't talk like that. Something inside me stopped begging to be his. I know, I said evenly. I'm not. It landed. His jaw flexed. You're ungrateful. For what? For the hallway? You carried your sons. You didn't say my name. He shoved a hand through his hair. I can't relive that night because you want a better story. I want a true one. He pointed at my phone on the bed. Give me that. No. I pay the bill. You pay to silence me. Enough. We stared. A stalemate built of smoke and years. He snatched the phone. I lunged. The boys gasped. Give it back. I said, you don't talk to that boy again. He has a name. He threw the phone onto the bed. Pack it away, he said. You're grounded. For disrespect. For sneaking. For making this family look like a circus. I laughed, because sometimes laughter is the only match left. You made it look like a rescue where I wasn't invited. He stepped close. You think you're brave because you crawled? Anybody crawls when they want to live. I crawled because there was no one left to carry me. I said. Something flickered behind his eyes. Say something, he demanded. She did. She said my name. Please. We're all hurt. Don't turn hurt into weapons. He swore. We're moving back into the house as soon as the inspector clears it, he said. New locks. New rules. My stomach dropped. The thought of sleeping under those rafters felt like lying down in a memory with teeth. I won't go back, I said. You don't decide, he snapped. I looked at my mother. Do I decide at all? Her lips parted, then closed. After he left for errands, the room sagged. My mother folded laundry that didn't need folding. He is scared, she said. He doesn't know how to show it. He knows how to choose, I said. That night he chose to watch. This morning he chose to take. She set the shirt down. You are my girl, she said. I love you. I love you, I answered, and felt the small crack where love isn't enough. At school, I moved through halls like smoke. Ethan found me near the stairwell mural. What happened? He asked. He saw us, I said. He wants it to end. He wants new locks. Ethan's jaw clenched. Then we find new keys. He could make it impossible, I said. Not if you don't let him. He touched my elbow. We can go slow. I'll wait. I just need you safe. What if safety means leaving? I whispered. He nodded. And we plan. Not reckless. We skipped last period and walked by the river. The water moved with a confidence I coveted. He told me about applying for a job. I told him about a sentence I wanted to write that didn't apologize for existing. The sky bruised toward evening. A motel. My stepfather's truck idled like an argument that didn't know where to park. He stood by the door, arms folded. When he saw Ethan, his mouth settled into punishment. Inside, he said to me. To Ethan, you're done here. Ethan didn't flinch. Sir, I'm not your sir. Stay away from my family. From your daughter, Ethan said. The word hung like a bell tone. My stepfather's smile was small and dangerous. She isn't. I felt it like a slap. Ethan stepped half in front of me. You don't get to erase people to make your story tidy. This isn't a story. Everything is, Ethan said. The question is who gets to speak. My stepfather moved, quick and hot. He shoved Ethan with 2 fingers to the chest. Ethan rocked back, but didn't fall. I stepped between them. Stop, I said. Please. He looked at me as if I'd betrayed some oath. Choose, he said. Now, the word throbbed. The hallway returned the red knob, the sentence the house wrote. My mother stood in the doorway, hand over her mouth. I choose myself, I said. It came out not as defiance, but as survival. He stared. Then get out, he said. If you leave with him, don't come back. The parking lot fell into a listening stillness. Ethan's hand found mine, not pulling, just there. My mother made a small sound, the kind you make when a seam rips. I don't have a bag, I whispered. I have one, Ethan said. And a couch. And a sister who makes too much pasta. I have a daughter, my mother said, voice breaking. Please, my stepfather cut her a look that snapped the air. Enough. The sun slid lower, lighting the motel sign. I felt versions of myself tugging at my sleeves, the obedient, the brave, the tired. I thought of the river, moving forward, because that is what water does when no one builds a dam strong enough. I need 1 hour, I said, meeting my mother's eyes. To pack, to choose which life fits in a small bag. My stepfather shook his head. 10 minutes. 30, Ethan said. Or we call someone who understands custody and choice. They glared at each other. Finally, my stepfather stepped back. 20, he said. And then she's gone. My mother sobbed once. I moved past them into the room, heart a drum, hands already reaching for what matters. Photographs, a notebook. The book he gave me. The shirt my mother bought with the little birds stitched at the collar. The charger. A small bottle of perfume I never wore. Urn cream. Socks with stars. I packed survival and proof and hope. Outside, the truck idled. Ethan waited by the door. My stepfather leaned against the railing. Counting. At 19 minutes, he called, "Time." I zipped the bag. My mother touched my face. "Text me," she whispered. "Every day. I'll find a way." I nodded and turned toward the threshold where heat had once taught me what it meant to live. Behind me, the room held its breath. Ahead, the night opened like a door I might finally claim as mine. Tonight, I took one step. The parking lot smelled like wet dust and ultimatum. I stood at the threshold with my small bag and a heartbeat that tripped over itself, while my stepfather's warning rang in the railings. If you leave now, don't come back. The sentence was a lock disguised as love. I tested the handle of my courage and stepped through anyway. Ethan didn't reach for me. He held out space respect instead of rescue. "Are you sure?" he asked low, as if the night might report us. "No," I said, and it startled us both. "But I'm more sure I can't stay." He took the bag from my shoulder. "Then we walk," he said. Not away, toward. The door clicked behind me like a chapter closing on a thumb. My mother stood inside, hand over her mouth. I mouthed, "I'll text you." She nodded like a prayer. My stepfather watched as if tallying the cost of my absence. We crossed the lot. Each step felt like speaking a new language out loud for the first time. At the curb, the quiet became permission. Ethan's fingers brushed mine, an invitation, not a claim. I interlaced them, and the knot inside my ribs loosened. "Where to?" I asked. "My place," he said. One decision buys the next. Street lamps lacquered the sidewalks. I cried without asking to be stopped. Ethan squeezed my hand every few houses, a pulse that said you are not debris. His building was plain brick and stubborn windows. On the second floor, his sister, Mira, opened the door before we knocked. Her hair was a messy crown, her face all awake concern. She took in the bag, my eyes, the shape of the air. "I'm making too much pasta," she said. "Come be my math." The living room held a green couch that sagged in a forgiving way, a quilt with a history of naps, a plant on the sill bowing toward the city lights. The apartment smelled like garlic and pencil shavings. I sank into the couch and felt the muscles of my day resign. Mira brought water first, then a soft towel for my face, then a bowl that steamed like a small rescue. She didn't ask for the story. She set out utensils like a language we already spoke. "We have a pull-out," she said. "It's lumpy where the universe sits, but it's good lumpy." I laughed, and the laugh turned into a quiet cry. Ethan sat on the floor by my knees, as if building a fort there. He didn't touch me until I leaned forward. Then he rested his palm against my ankle, steady as a metronome. Eat, he said. Brave runs on carbs. Between bites, sentences found me. He told me to choose, I said. He wanted me to call loneliness loyalty. Loyalty without love is a job, Mira said. You can quit that. Ethan placed my dog-eared book on the coffee table like a passport. Stay tonight, he said, and tomorrow we'll get what you need. We'll talk to someone who can make it official that your choice belongs to you. What if he shows up? I whispered. We have neighbors, Myra said. We have locks. We have volume. She pointed at a battered speaker. We can outloud any man. After dinner I showered, watching the motel and the hallway slide off me in diluted pieces. Back on the couch, wrapped in the quilt, I texted, I'm safe. My mother replied instantly, I love you. Be careful. No message arrived from him. It'll crash later, I told Ethan when he brought tea. The adrenaline and certainty. I'll remember everything and ask useless questions. Then we'll make room for the crash, he said. Cushions, playlists, snacks. Grief is weather survivable with layers. Stay? I asked. He sat on the couch edge. Tell me something that doesn't hurt, he said. The plant on the sill. I said, something else. The way your sister doesn't have to be heroic to be kind. One more, he said. You. I answered. The fact of you. He kissed my temple, a note he played once and let ring. When the crash came, it wasn't a cliff. It was a long hill I slid down while he kept pace. I cried into his shirt and left mascara there. He said it looked like a coastline, and he'd keep it dot near midnight. Mira unfolded the pullout with the practiced grace of someone who has made safety portable. She handed me cotton pajamas with tiny moons. They've seen things, she said. They will hold you. In the dark, Ethan spoke from the floor. If you want, we can go to the river in the morning, he said. Rivers don't apologize for moving on. I want a river, I whispered that morning, slipped in like a polite guest. For a minute, I forgot that leaving had consequences beyond relief. Then there was a knock. Myra checked the peephole, cautious. She opened the door. My mother stood there, hair braided like a promise, eyes carrying 2 suitcases of sleep. She stepped in and closed the door softly. I told him I needed milk, she said, lifting an empty tote. I came here instead. We landed on the green couch. She kissed my forehead. He's furious, she said. He thinks fury makes him right. I think right is quieter. I'm okay, I said. I'm not broken when I'm not there. I see it, she said. She glanced at Ethan and Myra. If you'll have me, I'll help with the next steps. There are forms. People who listen. A way to be safe without asking his permission. Relief rushed through me like spring melt. There's a cost, I warned. He'll bill us in words. Then we'll be rich in better ones, she said. We planned at the kitchen table with toast as currency. School counselor, aunt's address, the friend with a spare room. A part-time job I could apply for. Ethan wrote everything down as if mapping treasure that already belonged to me. Between logistics, he tapped the table with a rhythm that sounded like a future knocking knot before she left. My mother pressed a small envelope into my palm. Cash, a photocopy of my birth certificate, a list of numbers. At the bottom, she had written, your name is yours. Use it. When the door closed, a new quiet filled the apartment, a quiet made by choice rather than fear. Ethan tilted his head toward the window. River? River, I said. We took the long way, passing the blackened ribs of my old house. The caution tape fluttered like anxious flags. I stopped across the street. The site was empty except for crows, and the smell memory makes when it can't move on. Do you want to go closer? Ethan asked. No, I said. I want to go forward. At the river, the water wrote a long sentence to the sea. We sat on a low wall. knees touching, and let the current say what people fail to. Motion isn't betrayal. Stones soften. Shorelines rearrange around departures. I used to think home was a room, I said. Maybe it's a direction. Maybe it's a person, he said. Maybe it's this, I answered, and took his hand. He kissed me once, quick and true. The morning opened. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. We need to talk about your things. Come alone, noon. The old house. My stomach tightened. Ethan read my face. What is it? An invitation, I said. Or a trap. We don't go alone, he said. I looked at the river. I don't know if I should go at all. Then we decide together, he said. Weather report first. Route second. I folded the message into the pocket of my new life and listened as the water kept insisting forward. The first morning at Ethan's apartment felt like waking inside a dream I hadn't dared to script. The sun leaked through the blinds in pale ribbons. Mira clattered in the kitchen, humming off-key to a song that belonged more to memory than the radio. Ethan was already awake, perched on the floor with his knees drawn up, flipping through the notebook where we had mapped my escape the night before. You're staring, he said without looking up. You're planning, I countered, my voice still tangled with sleep. He turned then, smiling softly, eyes bright despite the sleepless night. One of us has to make sure this doesn't collapse. I'll carry the paperwork. You carry the hope. Hope. The word sat in me like sunlight through glass warming. Dangerous if I held it too close. At school, the whispers began before I even reached my locker. She's living with him now. Her stepdad kicked her out. Typical. The words rolled through the hall like pebbles, small but cutting when they hit skin. I kept walking, clutching my books tighter. Ethan was there, leaning against my locker, as though the stairs belonged to him instead. He didn't say anything, just took the books from my arms. The simple act silenced the hallway more than any retort could. Let them talk, he murmured as we walked side by side. They don't know the story. They only know how to invent villains. And what am I in their version? Neither villain nor victim, he said. They don't have the range for who you really are. It was the way he said it, so steady, so unflinching, that reminded me he wasn't protecting me from people. He was protecting me from the versions of myself I feared might be true. That evening, Mira made spaghetti again. She piled my plate too high, then winked. Eat enough for the years you starved yourself on silence. The apartment was cramped, noisy with clinking forks and overlapping stories, but it felt more like home than the house I had left. Ethan's laughter bounced against the walls. Not sharp, not forced, just easy. I caught myself watching the shape of his hands as he gestured, the slope of his shoulders when he leaned toward me. Later, when Mayra left for her night shift, the apartment softened into quiet. We sat on the couch, the quilt between us. The silence wasn't heavy. It was charged, like air before lightning. Does it scare you? I asked suddenly. Having me here? No, he said without hesitation. Then, softer. What scares me is you thinking you're a burden. I looked at him, heart trembling. Sometimes I do. Then let me tell you the truth until you believe it, he whispered. You are not weight. I am stronger because of you. The words melted something in me. I leaned against him, head on his shoulder, and for the first time since the fire, I felt the trembling inside me begin to still. But peace is fragile. It never stays unchallenged. It started with the phone calls. First to Myra, then to Ethan's cell. My stepfather's voice measured, sharp, demanding to know where I was, warning that I'd regret choosing stray dogs over family. Ethan blocked the numbers, but the message lingered in the apartment like smoke. One evening, as we washed dishes, he finally broke. You could go back, he said quietly, not looking at me. If you wanted. If it's too much. The plate in my hand slipped, clattering into the sink. Too much? Not you, he rushed to explain. The pressure. The whispers. Him. I don't want you hurt because of me. I dried my hands, heart pounding. Do you think I left just to stay safe? I left because I want more than survival. I want to live. And with you, it feels possible. He turned then, water dripping from his fingers, eyes fierce. You think you have to convince me to want you? You don't, but I need you to be sure this isn't just rebellion. It isn't rebellion, I whispered. It's recognition. Recognition of love, of safety, of a life that finally felt like mine. His shoulders softened. He reached out, touched my face with hands that shook slightly from holding too much inside. Then we fight, he said. Together, we fought by living, by walking through town holding hands even when whispers followed, by studying in the library as though nothing could touch us, by laughing too loudly at the diner, daring anyone to shame us for joy. But even small victories carried weight. By the third week, exhaustion set in. I woke one night to find Ethan sitting by the window, staring at the streetlights. What are you doing? I whispered. Counting how many ways we could lose this, he admitted. I patted over, slipped my hand into his. Then count how many ways we've already won. He looked at me, the shadows carving him into something older, more fragile. You really believe this can last? I believe in you, I said. And I believe in me when I'm with you. That has to be enough. He kissed me then, desperate and slow, like we were writing a contract neither of us wanted to breach. Yet the test came sooner than we expected. One afternoon, Mayra burst through the door with a pale face. He was at my work, she said breathlessly. Your stepfather. He asked questions. He said he knew you were here. Fear jolted through me like static. Ethan grabbed my hand. You're not alone. He can't touch you here. But I could see the storm in his eyes, the same boy who wanted to protect me from everything, even at the cost of himself. Maybe I should go, I said. The words tasted like ash. No. His voice was sharp, final. Leaving isn't safety. It's surrender. And I won't let you surrender what we've built. His conviction anchored me. But deep inside, fear whispered, what if he's right? What if love isn't enough against fury? That night, we lay tangled on the pull-out couch. The apartment hummed with quiet, the city outside alive with cars and distant music. Promise me, I whispered into the darkness. Promise me, we won't let him define us. Ethan tightened his arms around me. I promise. Even if the whole world forgets your name, I'll speak it loud enough for both of us. I pressed my lips against his chest, listening to the heartbeat that had become my compass. For the first time, I let myself believe in forever, not because it was guaranteed, but because he made it worth reaching for. The sound of sirens is the one I will never mistake. Even now, months since that first fire, it prickles my skin, rattles my lungs, summons the phantom taste of ash. That morning, Ethan and I were eating toast at Myra's kitchen table, the smell of garlic from last night's leftovers still clinging to the air. When the rising wail came through the open window, I froze, half-bite raised as the city seemed to tilt. What? Ethan asked, already reading the change in my face. Sirens, I whispered. Myra looked up from her coffee. Not here. Down toward Willow Street. Willow Street. My stomach dropped. That was where the old house stood, the one my stepfather had insisted on repairing, patching with insurance money and stubbornness, as though plaster could erase what the flames had taken. I shoved back from the table. It's him. Ethan's hand shot out. Wait, but the truth had already reached me. Smoke in the distance. A column, faint but undeniable, curling into the morning sky. My body moved before permission, grabbing my jacket, my bag. Don't go alone, Ethan said, already following. We ran the 6 blocks, sneakers slapping pavement, wind slicing against our cheeks. The air thickened as we neared, carrying the sour edge of burning insulation. At the end of the street, the crowd had already gathered neighbors, workers, children pulled close to their mothers. Red trucks screamed their final notes as firefighters unspooled hoses. And there it was. A house again. My old prison. My old grave. Flames licked from the windows like some cruel déjà vu. I stopped cold, lungs seizing. The image overlaid itself with memory. The hallway, the smoke, the red-hot doorknob. Breathe, Ethan said beside me, voice steady, hand finding the curve of my back. Don't let the fire tell the story for you. I blinked through the haze and saw him, my stepfather, standing on the curb. His face was pale, jaw clenched, arm gripping my brother's like lifelines. My mother was there too, trembling but present, clutching her purse to her chest. For a moment, everything narrowed. The smoke, the shouting, the hiss of water. Then the years collapsed, and I was that girl again, crawling. But this time, something inside me said, "You are not crawling anymore." I walked forward, each step a fight. The heat pressed at my skin even from across the street. My stepfather turned and saw me. His eyes widened, not with relief, not with recognition, but with something closer to shock. "You," he said, like my presence was a trespass. "Yes," I answered. My voice didn't shake. "Me." My mother stepped forward, tears streaking her cheeks. "It spread so fast," she said. "The stove," I touched her arm. "You're safe. That's what matters." But my eyes stayed on him. "This house," I said quietly, gesturing at the blaze, "is telling the truth you've been trying to bury." His mouth hardened. "It's just bad wiring." "Don't make this something it isn't. Bad wiring doesn't explain forgetting a child in the hallway," I said. The words came sharp, forged in smoke and silence. "It doesn't explain leaving me to crawl while you carried your sons." Ethan shifted closer, grounding me with presence. The crowd hummed with whispers, their eyes catching the edges of our confrontation. My stepfather's nostrils flared. "I did what I had to do. I saved who I could." "You saved who you chose," I said. "And you chose against me." My brothers looked between us, wide-eyed. My mother began to cry harder. The fire cracked, windows shattering as if punctuating my words. Flames clawed at the roof, black smoke curling into heaven. "You think you're strong because you walked away," he spat. "You're nothing without the roof I gave you." Ethan's voice cut through, low but certain. "She's everything without it." I lifted my chin. "You're wrong. This," I pointed to the blaze, "was never home. It was a test, and I survived it once. I don't have to survive you anymore." His face twisted, but his words stuck in his throat. Maybe it was the fire reflecting in my eyes. Maybe it was the crowd. Maybe it was his own smoke choking him. The firefighters called out, warning everyone to stand back as the roof sagged. Heat shimmered across the asphalt. I stepped away, Ethan guiding me. "Why does it feel like it's happening again?" I whispered. "Because the past wants to replay itself," he said. "But you're not the same girl. Look." He placed my hand on his chest, heartbeat steady. "You're standing. You're seen. You're not crawling. That's the difference." I let the rhythm anchor me, let the smoke sting my eyes without shame. Around us, the fire roared, but for the first time, I didn't feel like prey. I felt like witness. Hours later, the blaze was out. The house was a skeleton, charred beams jutting like broken ribs. Yellow tape looped around it, sealing its story. My family stood apart, scattered across the street. My stepfather smoked a cigarette with shaking hands. My mother knelt with my brothers, murmuring reassurance. I turned to Ethan. "I need to go in," he startled. "It's not safe." I don't mean the house, I said. I mean the past. I need to go in and leave it behind, once and for all. He studied me for a long beat, then nodded. And I'll stand here until you come out. I walked to them. My stepfather flicked Ash into the gutter, eyes narrowed. You think this is victory? He asked. No, I said softly. It's release. My mother stood, gripping my hands. I'm sorry. For not stopping him. For letting you feel unwanted. Her words broke something in me I didn't know was still breakable. I love you, I whispered. But I can't carry his choices anymore. They're not mine. Tears blurred her face, but she nodded. Then let them go. I faced him one last time. You don't get to write me out. I survived without you, and I will keep surviving. Not crawling, standing. His mouth opened, but nothing came. The silence was its own confession. I turned back to Ethan. He reached for me, and when our hands met, the world steadied. We walked away from the ruins, the tape flapping behind us. With each step, I felt lighter, not because the fire had ended, but because I finally had Dot at the corner. I stopped and looked back once more. Smoke still curled into the sky, faint and gray, a ghost dissipating. It doesn't own me anymore, I said. Ethan kissed the back of my hand. No, you own yourself now. I let the words settle in, as final and necessary as ashes. That night, at the apartment, I dreamed of the hallway again. Only this time, when the door appeared at the end, I stood and walked, not crawled through it. On the other side was light, not fire, and a voice calling my name, not leaving me behind, but welcoming me forward. When I woke, Ethan was asleep beside me, his arm across my waist, his breath warm against my neck. For the first time, I didn't dread the day, but as my phone buzzed on the nightstand, the screen lit up with a message that chilled me even in the safety of his arms. Unknown number, we're not finished. The house was nothing but bones now. Charred beams jutted against the sky, black ribs of a creature that had devoured itself. Ash dusted the ground like gray snow, swirling whenever the wind exhaled. I stood at the yellow tape, my fingers clenched in fists I didn't remember forming. Ethan was beside me, his hand grazing mine. Not pressing, not holding, just there. You don't have to, he murmured. Yes, I whispered, throat tight. I do, because this was where everything had started. The hallway, the fire, the moment I understood I was not his. To walk away without speaking now would mean carrying silence forever. I stepped forward. The crunch of ash under my shoes was a sound I knew too well. My stepfather stood near the curb, smoking, staring at what was left of his pride. He didn't look surprised to see me. So, he said, voice gravel. You came to watch. No, I said. My voice was calmer than my racing pulse. I came to finish. He flicked ash to the ground. Finish what? The house is gone. There's nothing left for you here? You're wrong, I said. There's something left, me. His jaw tightened. You think walking away makes you strong? It does, I said. Because I didn't just walk, I survived. You left me in that fire, and I crawled out. And every day since, I've been crawling toward a life that isn't yours to give or take. His eyes darkened. But I didn't stop. You want to know what I am without your roof? I took a step closer, ash puffing around my shoes. Unchosen. By friends who opened their doors. By a boy who stood beside me when no one else did. By a mother who, when she could, gave me love even if it trembled in her hands. You never chose me, but that doesn't make me less. It makes me free. The silence stretched. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. Finally, he laughed once, bitter. You sound just like your mother. Always blaming, always playing victim. I'm not a victim. I said. I'm a survivor, and I'm done surviving. I'm living now. Ethan moved forward then, placing himself slightly behind me, support, not shield. His voice was quiet but unshakable. She doesn't need your words anymore. She's already more than them. My stepfather's eyes flicked between us, unreadable. For the first time, I saw the cracks, not rage, not power, but the hollowness of a man who needed control to believe he mattered. You'll regret this, he muttered. No, I said softly. You will. Because one day you'll realize you had a daughter who only ever wanted to be loved. And you lost her. I turned then, not waiting for an answer. The smoke behind me curled into the sky like punctuation on a sentence finally. Finished dot. We walked in silence until the ruins were out of sight. My body shook, adrenaline breaking like waves. Ethan stopped me on the corner, his hands on my shoulders, his eyes searching mine. You did it, he said. I thought my voice would crack, I admitted, breathless. It didn't. He smiled, small and proud. You burned brighter than the fire. The words broke me open. I fell into his arms, and he held me as though holding was the only language we needed. People passed on the sidewalk. Cars rolled by, but the world felt narrowed to this. His heartbeat against my cheek, his warmth against the chill that had lived inside me too long. I'm not her anymore, I whispered. The girl who crawled. No, he agreed. You're the woman who stands. And I'll stand with you, however long you want. That night, back at the apartment, Mira lit candles on the kitchen table. For endings, she said, setting down mismatched mugs of tea. And beginnings. We sat together, the three of us, in the flickering glow. I thought of the family I had left fractured, conditional. And I looked at the one I had gained, messy, loud, imperfect, but chosen. My chest swelled with something new, not just survival, not just hope, but belonging. After Mara left for work, Ethan and I stayed at the table, the candles burning low. Do you ever think, I asked, voice barely above the hiss of wax, that some people are born from fire, not from love? He reached across the table, threading his fingers with mine. Maybe, but your proof fire can make light, not just scars. I swallowed hard, my throat aching with unshed tears. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. We'll draw it, he said, one line at a time. And if the paper tears, we tape it back together. That's what forever means to me. Not perfect, but built. I leaned forward, kissed him across the table. The candle between us flickered, as if approving. Weeks later, I stood at the river again. The water moved steadily, indifferent to ruins, endless in its persistence. Ethan came up behind me, arms circling my waist. What are you thinking? He asked. That the girl who once crawled through smoke would never have believed this moment could exist. He kissed my hair. Then let's keep proving her wrong. I smiled, tears slipping free. Forever? From ashes to forever, he said, the words wrapped around me like a promise bigger than both of us. I turned, kissed him under the open sky, the river singing its endless song. For the first time, the smoke inside me cleared. All that remained was light.